Should you invest in property in 2025? Let me ask you this one question. Do you wish that you had invested in property 5 years ago? Or if you did, do you regret it? Now the answer is probably yes, you wish you had invested in property 5 years ago. And I certainly don't come across many people that do regret investing in property. Most of the regrets are they didn't start sooner or they didn't invest in more. So this kind of leads me on to what the video is about. Should you invest in property in 2025? Now, if you want to have more income, you want to have more wealth to secure a better future, then yes, you should absolutely invest in property. Now, whilst recording this video, I've just received a rental payment of £675 dropped into my account. Now, this is an amazing feeling when you have passive income coming in, especially when it's multiple times every month. When you get that notification on your phone that you've just received £600, £700 rental payment, there is no better feeling than knowing that those rental payments are coming and you're receiving this whilst doing other things. You're doing it, or you should I say, you're receiving it passively. And this is one of the reasons that I started a buy-to-let portfolio, and it's one of the reasons that a lot of people get into property. Not only do you get this extra income, it's also peace of mind knowing that you've got that extra income coming in on the side, as well as, you know, your current job or business, or maybe if something were to go wrong, you've always got that extra passive income. You've always got those assets behind you. You've got that wealth for the future. Even just having a few properties giving you a couple of extra £1,000 per month is a massive difference for most people. Might not seem it at first, but if you were to have an extra couple of £1,000 per month, imagine what that would do for you. Imagine what that would do for your family, whether that be less time working, more time doing the things you enjoy doing, extra holidays a year, whatever it may be. Having multiple properties bringing you in a passive income is just an amazing feeling, and I can't express this enough. Now, without going off track, we'll get back to the point of the video. Is it worth investing in property in 2025? Let's look at some of the things to look out for. Now, you've probably heard the saying that property always goes up over time. And to be honest, it can't not do with inflation, with everything else going up, the rising population. You know, we can't, in this country, keep up with the demand. We can't build houses quick enough to keep up with the rising population. So before we even get into any of the logistics or anything, the fact that there's not enough housing for people should tell you something. You know, it should tell you that property is only going to go up in value. Property is always going to be a safe investment. This isn't something new. We're not creating something new. It's not like cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or something that's all hype and everybody's getting onto it and anything could happen. People have been making money. People have been becoming wealthy from property for thousands of years, since the beginning of time, and nothing's going to change in that sense. And property is about as solid of an investment as it gets. However, you do have to go about it the right way. You have to avoid sort of the pitfalls, the mistakes, because if you make mistakes, they are often costly. Now, normally it's not the property that is the problem, it's the person investing, it's the lack of knowledge, or sometimes I like to call it the naivety, people going into it without actually doing their research. So providing you do it correctly, there's absolutely no reason why you should not invest in property, whether that be 2025 or any other year. Now, I'm going to just go through a few things now, eliminate some of the mistakes that maybe you'll make, or I've seen other property investors mistake. And then once you can eliminate these mistakes, then it's going to make your journey a lot easier. It's going to make your investment a lot safer. So firstly, one of the big talking points about when it comes to investing in property is interest rates. Now, interest rates have been forefront in the media lately because they were really, really low for many, many years, and now they've suddenly increased quite sharply. And this is putting a lot of people off investing in property. I see a lot of new investors, I speak to people every day, and they just really put off by the higher interest rates because they believe that they're paying more for the mortgages. They believe that it's costing them more, therefore they're making less profit. And this is just not the case. This is not true. To be honest, from what I've seen since the interest rates have gone up, is that the profit margins, the return on investment on the properties that I invest in had actually gone up. Now, this might sound contradictory because you're thinking, if the interest rates are higher, surely your outgoings are higher, therefore your profits will be smaller. However, what we've seen recently is a massive increase in rent. So although your mortgage payments are now higher because of the higher interest rate, rents have actually gone up way more than interest rates. So the gap is actually bigger. Believe it or not, we're making more profits on some of our properties now than when interest rates were ultra low. So please don't be put off by interest rates. It's all about the numbers at the end of the day. It's not about what's going in, what's going out. It's about the return on investment. It's about the net profit at the end of the day. And although interest rates have gone up, so has everything else. So you can't really only counter in interest rates when, in fact, income's gone up, rents have gone up, therefore profit margins have gone up. Now, another thing to consider is location. A lot of people get this wrong, not because of the demographics of the location, more of the price, the rental yields and the numbers. So if you're invested in property, if you want to do this as a long-term investment, you want to grow your wealth, then investing in the right areas is important, not only for capital appreciation, which everybody seems to focus on. It's got to be more specific. You've got to have the strong rental demand. You've got to have a low entry point, especially if you're just starting out. So investing down south, for example, property is a lot more expensive. Your deposit is going to be a lot higher. You're going to be paying more stamp duty, and the rental yields might not be as high as if, say, you invested further north. So when you're starting a property portfolio, you're getting into property investing, you want to leverage money as much as you possibly can. And often this means buying in the low cost areas, buying in the areas where the entry points are a lot lower, but the rental demand is higher, the rental yields are higher. Often this is further north, and you've probably seen on social media, even I've talked about it, the differences between the north and the south. And it is evident that a lot of property investors do opt for the north for these reasons. So it's important that you get your location right. You might be better off buying, say, 3 or 4 properties further north, yielding much higher percentages rather than buying one property further south. You have to think of the long game. You have to think about the growth period and scaling. And often this means buying properties that give you the highest returns. When I talk about location, I'm not just talking about, is it near schools? Is it near, transport links? I'm talking about the demographics in terms of rental yield, rental demand, and the purchase price of the properties. So once you've determined a good location and you're no longer afraid of interest rates, the next thing is the important thing, what I always feel is something that everybody should do when starting out, is structuring your property investments correctly from the beginning. Now, a lot of people get into property, the first 1 or 2, they're not really sure what they're doing. They go and buy the properties. Then they realise that they didn't quite do it correctly in the beginning, and this has a knock-on effect in the future. So it's important to get your structure right. And by this, I mean moving funds around as they should do, setting up a limited company, should you be buying through a company or your personal name, how to mitigate tax going forward, how to leverage money so that you can actually grow your portfolio. All of these things need to be considered. Is it going to be in your own name? Is it going to be, are you going to be joint directors with your partner, your wife, your husband? All these things need to be accounted for before you actually start, to give you the best sort of foundations going forward. So before getting stuck into property, just make sure that you understand, you learn, and you structure things correctly before you start. Now, moving on to the next thing that a lot of people are fearful about. This has a big effect on landlords. This has a big effect on people starting in property because they may be afraid of getting this bit wrong or something happening because it's out of their control. And that is tenants. Now, one of the biggest put-offs that I hear from people is, what if the tenants don't pay? What if the tenant trashes the house? Or any other number of reasons. So it's very important that you get this part right. You don't just want to get any tenant into your property. You want to vet them correctly. You want to do your due diligence. You want to meet up with them. You want to get a good feel and just use your gut instinct to see if you think they are a good fit for your property. Are they going to look after the property? Are they going to pay on time? Now again, this is something that can be outsourced For me personally, I always use a letting agent that I trust to find a tenant because they do all the correct checks. They'll do finance checks, they'll do all the due diligence, and generally they have a good feel for people. They have good first impressions, they have a good instinct. So it's always worth using an agent to find your tenant. Whether you use them to manage the property or not, you can still employ them to just find the tenant initially, and it's not too costly. So once you sort of nail down this, it's going to make your life a lot easier when it comes to buy to let, when it comes to renting properties. I've only ever had one bad tenant, and that was purely my fault. This was the only time that I didn't use my letting agent to find a tenant. You know, it was a usual friend of a friend needs somewhere to live. You feel like you're doing the right thing, and it just didn't work out well. And that's a mistake I made and something I've learned from, and this is the reason why I always suggest to people, go through the proper procedures, use the right letting agents, get the right tenant in, and it will make your sort of property investing journey or life much easier going forward. So these are the 4 things that you should nail down, and if you do these things correctly, it's going to massively increase your success rate. And if you're thinking of investing in property in 2025, then there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't. In terms of house prices, rental demand, it all stacks up, and as I said before, the population is growing and our government can't keep up with the amount of housing they need to build. They may say they can, and you've probably seen them on TV spouting all these numbers off, when in reality they can't keep up with the demand. And if there's a supply and demand issue, that can only lead to one thing: increase in prices. So I always say it's always better to be in the market rather than trying to time the market. So if you can get into property sooner rather than later, as I said at the beginning, nobody regrets buying property years ago. People only regret not starting years ago. I've bought property every year for the last 5 years, and I will continue to do so in the foreseeable future. You may have seen on one of my Insta reels where I talk about buying back your time. So what I mean by this, let's say that your outgoings for a month are £3,000 to cover your food bills, energy bills, mortgage. Now let's say that you buy a buy-to-let property and that gives you £300 profit per month. That's just bought back 10% of your time. Now if you have 10 properties all giving you £300 per month profit, that's £3,000. That's 100% of your time bought back. This is financial freedom, okay? Having that income coming in passively that covers all of your outgoings, all of your expenses, is pure financial freedom, okay? And this is what a lot of people strive for when getting into property, and it's definitely something that you should consider. Even if you don't reach 100%, imagine how it would feel if, say, 50% of your time was bought back by passive income. Even for a lot of people, even just 10 or 20%, it means a hell of a lot. Now imagine how it would feel just to have that extra bit of freedom. Maybe you could work less hours at work, or as I said before, enjoy more holidays. It is just an amazing feeling having this income from property, but not only the income coming in, you know those properties are increasing in value over time. So as you get older, you're going to have a lot of wealth behind you. You're going to have a good pension pot because you can't rely on the government these days. And not only that, it's something that you can pass down to your children to give them a better future, to give them a better life. So it's not all about now, it's about the long term as well as obviously earning income from those properties short term. Now it's all well and good saying this. I've gone and done it. I know other people have obviously, but if you're watching this and you're maybe still at the beginning, the one bit of advice that I can give is start, okay? I did a reel on this not long ago saying I would never have got to a portfolio of 1.2 million if I hadn't have started and bought the first one. I would never have got anywhere near. You have to start somewhere, even if it's a low price property, even if it's a rundown property and you have to work hard doing it up, even if you have to borrow it, whatever it takes, you will not reach financial freedom. You will not own a portfolio of properties if you don't start somewhere. Now I understand that a lot of people have great intentions of doing this. Maybe they've been thinking about it for a while but haven't taken that initial step. or maybe they have some doubts or uncertainties, and this is totally understandable. And this is what prevents a lot of people from ever starting, from ever achieving this portfolio of properties or this financial freedom. Now, if this is you, if you're feeling a little bit stuck, or maybe you want to get going but you're not sure which direction to go, just have a look at the link in my description. There's a lot more info on how we take people from starting out to owning their first 4 buy-to-let properties. You can even jump on a quick call with me if you want to chat. We've helped a lot of people over the last 12 to 18 months to start and build a portfolio of properties, and it's been going amazing. We've had some really, really good success stories. People, joined us, didn't really have the knowledge or any clue what they were doing, and now they own sort of 2 or 3 properties within the first year, which is really great. So if you feel like you need some help, feel like this is something that you want to do but you're not quite sure, go and click the link in the description. Even book a call with myself just to see if we're a good fit to work together, and if we are, then I'll happily offer you some advice, some ways going forward. If not, that's absolutely fine. But as I said earlier, you'll never get anywhere if you don't start. So hope this quick videos give you a bit of inspiration. Hope this quick videos sort of helped you to decide if investing in property in 2025 or whenever is a good idea. And if you feel you need some help to do that, just reach out and I'll do my best.